The courtroom was silent, cold, and formal, the kind of place where truth is supposed to rise above doubt, and justice stands taller than power. But on this day, it felt different. She was just a little girl, maybe 7 years old, sitting quietly on the wooden bench, her small hands clutching a worn-out stuffed animal. Her feet didn't reach the floor. Her name was Maya, and she hadn't spoken a word in 43 days. Not since that night. She was the key witness in a case that had shaken the small town of Riverview to its core, a custody battle that was hiding something much darker beneath the surface. On one side of the courtroom, her mother, elegant, sharp-eyed, flanked by lawyers dressed in charcoal gray suits. She smiled sweetly at the judge, but there was something about the way she glanced at Maya, like a warning. On the other side, a quiet, older man in his 60s. Thomas Everett. He wasn't Maya's father. Not even a relative. But by all accounts, this man had shown up at a hospital months ago with Maya in his arms, cold, bruised, silent. He claimed he found her alone in a forest near his cabin. Nobody knew how she got there. The only clue: the dog. Shadow. A large black German shepherd who hadn't left Maya's side since that night. No collar. No microchip. No record. But Maya clung to him like family. And he, in return, guarded her like a soldier. Most courtrooms wouldn't allow animals. But the judge, a tall, quiet man named Judge Holloway, had made a rare exception. Maya didn't speak to humans. Only to the dog. And today, everything was supposed to change. The lawyers presented their polished arguments, files stacked high, voices echoing off the walls. Words like psychological trauma, neglect, and false memory syndrome were tossed around like weapons. But Maya just sat. Still. Silent. Watching. Until the moment Shadow stood up. It was sudden. Sharp. He didn't bark. Didn't growl. Just rose to his full height, muscles tense, ears alert. Maya didn't move. But then, her tiny fingers twitched. A subtle movement like a wave, but sharper. A twitch of 2 fingers. A signal. The dog saw it instantly. He stepped forward, and then looked directly at the judge. That's when the air changed. Judge Holloway leaned forward. Did anyone else see that? Murmurs rose. The courtroom technician rewound the security footage, and there it was. Frame by frame. Maya gave a hand signal. The kind used in training. A military signal. One used only in combat-trained canines. But Maya wasn't from a military family. Her mother had never mentioned any dog. Any training. Anything close to it. And then Shadow did something that froze the entire room. He walked to the center of the courtroom, sat down, and began to bark 3 short barks, one long. Then he laid flat, rolled, and stood again. It looked random. But Judge Holloway's eyes widened. That's Morse code, he whispered. The bailiff called in an interpreter. They played the video back again. The bark pattern, when translated: help, lie, danger. The judge turned slowly toward Maya. She looked up, eyes wide, but no longer afraid. Her hand reached out. 2 fingers again, same signal. And Shadow responded. He walked toward the woman, Maya's supposed mother, and let out a low, threatening growl. She froze. No. She snapped. He's just a dog. You can't take his behavior seriously. But Shadow wouldn't budge. He barked again. Same pattern. Help. Lie. Danger. And for the first time in 43 days, Maya spoke. One word. Clear. Soft. But loud enough for the microphone to catch. Enough. The courtroom fell into complete silence. Every eye turned to her. The judge leaned back, speechless. His gavel sat untouched. And just then, Shadow walked over to Maya, licked her hand gently, and laid by her feet, protective, loyal, unshakable. Something had shifted. A truth unspoken, now too loud to ignore. But no one knew the full story yet. Not the court. Not the media. Not even Judge Holloway. Because Maya's past was more tangled than anyone had guessed. And Shadow. He wasn't just a pet. He was a witness. And Maya's signal? Just the beginning of a secret she was finally ready to tell. But only if someone was truly ready to listen. Judge Holloway stared at the girl, the small child whose one whispered word had just turned an entire courtroom into a storm of questions. Enough, she had said. Simple, soft, but heavy. It was the first crack in the wall Maya had built since that night. And everyone in that room could feel something ancient shifting, like a secret buried too long finally struggling to breathe. Maya lowered her hand slowly. Shadow didn't move. He remained by her feet like a stone monument. Loyal. Watching. The judge spoke quietly into the mic. Maya, do you want to tell us something? She looked up, her lips parting as if to answer, but her eyes darted toward the woman in the front row. The one who called herself Maya's mother. She was no longer smiling. Her fingers clenched the arms of her chair. That polite mask was gone, replaced by something darker. No more questions, she snapped. This child is traumatized. This is abusive. But she was cut off. The judge raised a firm hand. Sit down, Mrs. Kincaid. We will hear her. The room fell silent again. Maya opened her backpack. No one had noticed it before, a small pink bag with faded cartoon stickers. From inside, she slowly pulled out something unexpected. A torn photograph. It was creased in half, almost ripped down the middle, as if someone had tried to erase what was on it. She handed it to the bailiff, who brought it to the judge. Holloway held it up. The image showed a man smiling, strong, dressed in military uniform. Behind him, a small house. In front, kneeling at his feet, was Shadow. And in his arms, a younger Maya, maybe 5 years old. Laughing. Holloway blinked. This is not in any of the submitted evidence. Mrs. Kincaid's voice trembled now. She's confused. That's a doctored photo. This entire circus. But again, Shadow responded. He stood, walked forward, stood in front of the judge and barked. Once. Then walked back to Maya and nudged her gently toward the center of the courtroom. Maya looked nervous, trembling, but nodded. She walked to the witness stand. And what happened next? It shocked everyone. She began to speak. Slowly. Haltingly. But each word was like thunder in the still courtroom. That's my real dad. His name was Captain Jason Hale. He trained Shadow. Gasps rippled through the gallery. My mom, she died when I was little. After the car crash, he took care of me. We lived in a small cabin near the forest. Until... She paused. Shadow whimpered. Until the lady came. She said she was a friend. She said my dad had to go away for a while. But he didn't. He never left me. Tears formed in her eyes. The judge leaned forward, every muscle in his body locked in attention. He died protecting me. There it was. The truth, or at least the first piece of it. The courtroom exploded. Whispers. Shock. Journalists already rushing out to type their headlines. But one person wasn't shocked. Mrs. Kincaid. She stood. Calm now. Eyes cold. You have no proof of any of this, she said. The child is unstable. Traumatized. That photo could have been made by anyone. She's telling fairy tales. But Judge Holloway's voice sliced through her words. Then why did you never mention the man in the photo? She didn't answer. Maya continued. She said I had to forget him. She said no one would believe me. But Shadow remembers everything. He was there. He saw what happened. She wanted to sell him. Said he was dangerous. But he stayed. She turned toward her mother. She lied. Shadow growled low again, and this time, Judge Holloway didn't stop it. He stood up. This court will take a recess. Effective immediately. I'm ordering a full investigation into Maya's background, including DNA testing, military records retrieval, and immediate protective custody. He looked directly at Maya. You are safe now. But as the bailiffs moved in to escort Mrs. Kincaid, something happened that no one expected. She didn't resist. She just smiled. But not kindly. It was the kind of smile that chilled bones. A slow curl of the lips. Eyes sharp as glass. You think this is over? She whispered. Then she leaned toward Maya, not threatening, but eerie. There's more you don't remember, sweet girl. Much more. Let's see how brave you are when the rest comes back. Before the officers could pull her away, she added, ask the dog about the basement. The room froze again. Maya's face turned pale. Her breathing became shallow. And for the first time, Shadow stepped back. As if protecting her from something even he couldn't stop. The judge banged his gavel hard. Court is adjourned. But the questions had just begun. What happened in that basement? Why was Maya targeted? Who really was Mrs. Kincaid? And how much did Shadow truly know? The truth was finally waking up, but the darkness wasn't done yet. Maya didn't move. Even as the bailiffs escorted Mrs. Kincaid out, even as the courtroom emptied in a wave of murmurs and headlines, Maya sat there, frozen. Shadow was beside her, tense. The word basement had cracked something inside her, not just fear, but a deep, buried dread. Something she had locked away so tightly it had no shape, only weight. Judge Holloway watched her from the bench. He had dealt with hundreds of cases, criminals, frauds, liars, and monsters hiding behind suits, but nothing had unsettled him like this child and her silence. She wasn't lying. She was remembering. And Shadow was her living evidence. Outside, the sky had darkened with rain. Reporters hovered near the courthouse steps like vultures. Inside, Maya was taken to a quiet, protected waiting room with soft yellow lights and worn-out furniture. No guards. Just her, Shadow, and a quiet female officer named Detective Elena Cross. Cross didn't ask questions. She sat across from Maya, hands open, gentle voice. You don't have to talk. Just listen. Maya nodded. Cross reached into her file and laid down a copy of the torn photograph Maya had brought earlier. We ran it through image tracing software. The man in the photo, Captain Jason Hale, Army K-9 Division. Missing for over a year. Presumed dead in a fire at a remote cabin. She paused. But there was never a child listed. No records of a daughter. Nothing in his file. Maya looked down. Her fingers trembled. I wasn't supposed to exist, she whispered. Cross leaned forward slightly. What do you mean? She said. She said I was off the books. That I was a mistake. Maya's voice cracked. And Shadow? Cross asked gently. Maya placed her hand on the dog's head. He was my protector. My only one. For a moment, only the hum of a heater filled the silence. Then Maya whispered. There was a basement. Cross went still. Maya continued. After my dad disappeared, she locked me in it. Said it was safer. Said bad people were coming. But her voice faded. She stared off. Then said something strange. There were other kids too. The room went cold. Cross straightened, voice barely audible. Other children? Where? I don't know. I only heard them. Crying sometimes. But she said if I asked questions, Shadow would be taken away. Tears pooled in her eyes. So I stopped asking. Shadow nudged her knee, sensing her distress. And then Maya looked at him. Show her, she whispered. The detective blinked. Show me what? Maya stood, reached into her backpack. She pulled out a folded napkin. On it, drawn in crayon and shaky hands, was what looked like a map. I made it when I was hiding in the woods. I remembered pieces. Trees. Rocks. The fire tower. Cross unfolded it. There in a crooked red square was a tiny drawing labeled, Trapdoor. Below it, Basement. And in tiny letters, Don't tell. Don't speak. Don't scream. Cross stood, heart racing. We need to go there. Now. Dawn broke through the trees like shattered glass. 3 black SUVs rolled slowly along the dirt road, wheels crunching leaves. Agents, officers, and forensic specialists piled out, armed with scanners, dogs, and body cams. Shadow jumped out of the back seat and immediately started sniffing the ground. Maya, now wearing a warm hoodie, stood beside Cross, silent but focused. The team followed Shadow's lead through thick brush, over a broken fence, and past what looked like the ruins of a burnt-down cabin. "This is it," Maya whispered. It was all here. A fallen chimney. A rusted wheelbarrow. A few melted beams. And behind it, a stone slab. Hidden beneath moss and years of neglect. Shadow scratched at it. "Found something," one officer shouted. "Help me lift it." They pried it open, groaning. Heavy wood beneath revealing a stairway choked in black. The air reeked of mold and smoke and something sour. They descended with flashlights. The beam of light hit chains. A mattress. Scratch marks on the wall. Cross turned away, sick to her stomach. It was real. All of it. One officer called out, "Back wall looks like it was sealed shut and reopened. There's a second chamber here. Empty now, but signs of multiple occupants." Another chimed in, "We've got names scratched into the wood." Cross emerged from the basement, face pale. Maya stood waiting. "Did you find them?" Cross didn't answer. "Not yet." Maya just nodded. "She's not the only one." Cross blinked. "Who?" Maya whispered. "The woman who said she was my mom. She worked with others. There's a place." She called it the Orchard. That's where the other kids were sent. The Orchard. The name meant nothing. But it sounded like a code. And from the look in Maya's eyes, it was a place that still haunted her sleep. Judge Holloway reviewed the photos, the reports, the footage. He looked up at Cross. "She's not lying," Cross said. "And we may have stumbled onto something much bigger than a single abuse case. There's a system here. A network. Maybe involving trafficking. Maybe worse. But Shadow." She paused, trying to find the words. "He's more than just a dog. He's a witness with memory. And Maya? She's the last thread we have left." Judge Holloway set down the file and looked out the window, deep in thought. "This case," he muttered, "was supposed to be simple. But nothing about this story was simple. Because the darkness hadn't started with Maya. And it wasn't going to end with her either. The girl with the secret hand signal had opened a door no one knew existed. And now, it couldn't be closed. Somewhere out there the others were waiting. And the Orchard? It wasn't just real. It was still operating. The night was calm. Crickets chirped under a navy blue sky, and a faint breeze stirred the curtains of a quiet, warmly lit room. Maya sat cross-legged on a soft rug, her small hands flipping through an old photo album, each page a window to a life lost, a father remembered. Shadow lay beside her, head resting on her lap, his eyes open, always alert. Across the room, Detective Elena Cross watched over them, sipping tea, eyes heavy with days of unraveling secrets. She knew now, this wasn't just a case, it was a war disguised as paperwork and silence. She approached Maya slowly. "Any more memories come back?" she asked gently. Maya nodded faintly. "Pieces." She opened a crayon drawing tucked into the back of the album. It showed 5 stick-figure children in a circle. Above them, drawn in red crayon, a tree with no leaves. And next to it, a black door, labeled Orchard. Maya pointed to one figure, a small boy with blue scribbles on his shirt. "This one. His name was Kian. He helped me hide the map." Cross knelt beside her. "Do you think he's still there?" Maya didn't answer right away. She just looked at Shadow. Then she made the same 2-finger signal. Shadow stood instantly, walked over to her backpack, pulled something out gently between his teeth. A military-grade flash drive, burned on one side, partially melted, but intact. Maya looked up. Her voice was clear now. Dad said if anything ever happened, this would lead to them. Cross's eyes widened. She took the drive, heart pounding. What's on it? Maya's voice dropped to a whisper. Their names. Rain pelted the windows as Judge Holloway stared at the screen. The flash drive was plugged in. On it, hidden folders. Dozens of documents. Video recordings. Transaction logs. GPS coordinates. And a list titled, Orchard Personnel. Verified. His hands trembled as he scrolled. Judges. Doctors. Foster agencies. CEOs. And at the top, a name he recognized. One that should have never been there. His own superior. He leaned back, stunned. Betrayed. The room went dark as lightning flashed. For the first time in his career, the judge was afraid. Back at the safe house, Maya hugs Shadow tightly. She looks out the window at the moon. Then whispers, "They're going to come now, aren't they?" Cross replies quietly from the door. "Yes." Maya nods. "Then I'm ready." The screen fades to black. One final sentence appears in white letters. When truth barks louder than silence, monsters run.